all right.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Finding Strength. I am down here in St. Petersburg, Florida at Strength Camp with Elliott Hulse.
Yo.
I'm sure a lot of you guys know who he is. He's been around for a long time. I definitely used to watch you a lot when I was coming up through the sport, and a lot of your videos definitely, motivated me, and I learned a lot from just technique-wise and stuff like that. And so thanks for having me. How have you been? And tell me a little bit about Strength Camp and how it's been over the past.
Cool, man. Yeah, I tell you what, Strength Camp has grown tremendously in the past few years. Last time we met, I had Strength Camp. I started Strength Camp out the back of my van.
Yeah.
And I started growing the business in like 2007, 2008. It was in the bad side of St. Petersburg, South St. Pete, where we had crackheads and prostitutes. But I was attracting enough clients to keep the lights on. It was tough. And then from 2012 through like 2015, I blew up on YouTube because I just started making YouTube videos. And during that time, I didn't stop Strength Camp, but I really wasn't putting too much emphasis on it. I had an intern to come in and train a lot of the athletes for me, but I trained less people and spent more time educating through the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And so Strength Camp basically became a recording studio.
Yeah.
It's where I trained myself, it's where we had a few clients, and it's basically where I made all those videos. In 2015, we decided to move into this place.
Yeah.
This is our 8,000 square foot new building. Without using YouTube as our platform, meaning like 100% local. We got 100% local business to come in, and we blew up immediately. So a lot of people would be like, yeah, Elliott, well, you got 1 million followers on YouTube, so your gym's gonna do great. We didn't rely on our platform at all. We wanted to see, could we build a gym from scratch, from ground up in our city? By the way, St. Petersburg has just been voted the laziest city in America, I swear to God. Yep, they do these polls and shit. And so we're literally succeeding from the ground up in the laziest city in America. And Strength Camp has evolved from being, I'm a meathead at heart.
Yeah.
It was strongman, it was powerlifting. We had football players and athletes and guys. You come in here and it's just like chalk dust and 50 Cent. Now, as you see when you walk in here, we've got tons of women training here, and it's really balanced out our offer and the amount of people we're able to reach, and it's evolved in that time, man. It's awesome.
Awesome. So how's your training philosophy kind of evolved? I mean, obviously everybody's training philosophy evolves, but do you still do a lot of strongman, powerlifting, centric type stuff, or is it a completely different type of philosophy that you're training people with now?
Dude, the only philosophy that matters is practical philosophy, meaning like what can you use and get results with right now based on who you are. And so as you age, right? We talked about injuries, right? I don't even like to use the term age, because then you start thinking of like in terms of like, oh, old people train different than young people. As you have experience, meaning injuries or overcoming various challenges that make you stronger and not need to train the way you had in the past. As you grow up around the barbell, in strength training, your approach has to evolve. You're evolving, you're a different person.
Yeah.
So what I'd say is probably the biggest addition to my training in most recent years has been yoga.
Okay. Yeah.
And I say in addition because it's not a matter of dropping strength training. I still love lifting. That's what I'm born to do, is to fucking lift heavy.
Yeah.
But in order to maintain a number of things, including healthy joints, right? How many old meatheads do you know that like, they got bad backs, they can't get out of bed in the morning without taking a shower. It's horrible. Maintaining healthy joints and a healthy body, but also the ability to remain present with my breath, right? Breathing, meditation, all these things have contributed to developing a stronger version of me. So it's like strength training evolved.
Yeah.
It's like a more balanced version of strength training.
Okay.
A more multidisciplinary approach.
More holistic, just kind of, all right. And so kind of talking about the holistic side, for a while after strength camp, I don't want to say he became a controversial figure, but there's definitely, on the
hell yeah,
on the
man,
internet,
I'm a controversial figure.
You see people kind of dissing Elliott, and then I just kind of watch your video. You have to die before you die. So kind of tell me how you went from strongman meathead, and you kind of got more into the holistic approach. Kind of what was that death that you experienced?
It was always there.
Yeah.
And so death is a metaphor, death and rebirth, resurrection is a metaphor. Another metaphor for our personal evolution is unlayering.
Yeah.
Meaning, like when you have an onion, the core of the onion's always been there.
Yeah.
In fact, the onion started with the core of the onion and grew layers over time, right? And that's our experience as a human being. We're born as our essence, right? And over time, we develop layers of personality.
Yeah.
And our layers of personality are usually brought on by our environment, circumstances that we experience in our life and our environment, so on and so forth. But our essence has always been the same.
Yeah.
So when we say Elliott Hulse is gotten weird, right?
Yeah.
It's all this spiritual stuff and bioenergetics and active meditation, all these strange things that he's doing and talking about.
Yeah.
They were there before you knew me.
Yeah.
They were there before I knew myself.
Yeah.
But I had been practicing active meditation and bioenergetics years before people even knew me on YouTube. I started taking a holistic approach to fitness and strength training and seeing it as a multidisciplinary thing, multifaceted thing, a holistic thing. Way back in 2002 when I met Paul Chek, I started studying Paul Chek's work. And Paul at that time, I mean, he's a pathfinder and a pioneer. He was talking about chakras, and he was talking about the nervous system, and he was talking about the wholeness of a human being in relation to how that improves their bench press and their deadlift. Way back in 2002, I was 23 years old when I was influenced by his work. So at that impressional age, 23, 24 years old, when I'm starting out into my career, I was introduced to the idea and given the confidence by an elder to say and acknowledge what was my truth, which was that the body is the mind. Your lifting is not separate from what's going on in your relationships. It's all one thing. I can go into all the physiological and psychological implications of strength training if you'd like to, but the fact is that your body will tell you and tell the world a lot about what's going on here. Yeah. Right down to our posture. What your posture, your body language, what it says about what's going on in here. And don't think that lifting doesn't change your posture. Yeah. So if your posture is changing based on your lifting, whether you're lifting with faulty recruitment patterns and causing a kyphosis and closing down your solar plexus so you're not breathing enough to have the type of energy that you need to shine in the world, or you're lifting with good posture to support yourself in becoming a stronger version of yourself where you can express yourself fully, they're both physical activities we're doing in the gym that contribute to our character, to our personality, to our psychology. It's one thing.
Yeah. So how do you incorporate that now when you're training people with, your coaches and putting together a plan for the clients that come in, athletes, personal training clients? How do you take all that and kind of put it into a plan for them?
The first thing you got to get clear is why the person is there. Yeah. Why are you here, right? And Ralph Waldo Emerson says that every action is measured by the sentiment from which it proceeds. Meaning you're only going to get out of this as much as your truth is involved in your choosing to do this. Yeah. So for example, if a woman comes and she wants to lose weight, does she want to lose weight because she has a newfound sense of self-love, which says, I want to shine brighter, I want to be healthier, I want to live to my potential? Or is she coming to you because her husband cheated on her with a younger, thinner girl? Yeah. So that's a very psychological thing. That's a very metaphysical thing. But if I'm not clear on that, when you come to train with me, I'm not going to be able to design the right program because I'd be starting in the wrong place.
Yeah.
The place I'd have to begin with is why you're there, lack of self-love. You see, and that's very metaphysical.
Yeah.
It goes beyond the weight training, but the weight training will be affected. Your lifting, your training program will be affected by why you're there. Sometimes anger and fear are the best reasons to fuel, or the best fuel for your training. I spent a lot of time, I became a professional strongman, trying to prove myself to my dad.
Yeah.
Trying to prove myself as a man.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking anger about experiences I had as a younger person, failures that I had as a younger person.
Yeah.
I failed I wanted to be a professional football player. Now I'm angry.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kill it with the stones, I'm gonna kill it with the flipping tire. That's the sentiment from which it proceeded, and I succeeded because of it. Knowing the sentiment, knowing the psychology, knowing the real reason why you're training or why your client is coming to you is paramount.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So what kind of intake procedure? Do you ask them outright, why are you here? Like, how do you kind of get that out of them?
A conversation is usually a pretty good place to begin, digging a little deeper. It's a relationship that you're developing with somebody. I like to say that coaching is kinging. The reason why I say that is because as a coach, you're literally working to bring blessings into that other person's life. You're lifting them up. As a king, when I say as a king, I put coaches in that. I use that as a metaphor. And maybe I'm going a little too far with the metaphors right now, so I'll bring it back just to give you some perspective. But according to the work of Robert Moore, who was a neo-Jungian psychologist, who focused specifically on the psychology of man, of the masculine, he broke down, and it's never easy to do this because there's always all types of gray area. He broke down the psyche, the masculine psyche, into 4 quarters.
Okay.
The king, warrior, magician, and lover.
Okay.
Right? So within every masculine there's a sovereign quality, a quality of order and creativity in your life. And that's what your king is.
Yeah.
When you decide, I'm going to tour the world, and I'm going to interview people in the strength sports. That's your king stepping up and saying, this is what we're going to go do.
Yeah.
Your magician is the quality that's associated with your intellect and your intuition. Your lover is associated with the emotions of love and communication with one another. And your warrior is all about discipline and commitment, right?
Yeah.
So when clients come to meet you, what you're wanting to do is, as a trainer, is to be so fully balanced in order in your own life, such that your cup overflows.
Yeah.
People can't come to you for strength if you don't have strength.
Yeah.
You're the one that's offering them the blessings of strength. Part of what a king does in that metaphor is brings blessings to his realm. He orders his kingdom around his ideal. He gives his world what he has. If a king has abundance, his kingdom is very abundant. If a king has strength, his kingdom, the people in his life, the people that are attracted to him will receive strength. So when someone comes to you looking for fitness, for you truly to be a coach and stand in that role, you have to have it. You have to be it.
Yeah.
You got to be the king of it. When I say the king, I'm not meaning you're the only one, but in your life you got to be sovereign over that quality, which is fitness. That's first and foremost. They're going to come with you, you got to be the king of that.
Yeah.
When you're, I lose myself sometimes, I talk so much.
That's fine.
But I'm going to stop there because I think that's the most important quality of being a king, of being a coach. Coaches are kings, meaning that that person's coming to you ought to have what it is that they want first, so that you can hold the place for them to be able to grow it in themselves.
Okay.
I don't remember the original question, but I went on a whole different tirade.
I don't remember either. So when you're being a coach and you have this new person in, kind of what are the first steps you take to be able to project that, love for being fitness, your fullness onto them, and how do you kind of bring that out of them? What are your...
If you're talking about the next, because I'm way up here in the clouds, and we want to bring it down into the dirt, right?
Yeah.
We want to bring it down to actionable steps. The first thing that we're going to do, and listen, there's a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum of self-love versus can you deadlift 600 pounds because you love yourself that much, right? And throughout that spectrum, you're going to find things like our nervous system and our physiology. So where I'm wanting to take someone on a little bit more of a tangible level, but also a little bit more in between, it's not, I'm not going to have you deadlift 600 pounds tomorrow, is the functioning of your nervous system. What's critical, so what I teach are 4 layers of strength when we're working with someone. The first layer is neuromuscular strength. It's what's happening on the most superficial level, your muscular system and your nervous system, because our muscles are innervated by our brain. You have nerves inside your muscle that come from your brain. Your body is a thinking body. So we work with the neuromuscular system, physiological layer, which is associated with our rhythms, our hormones, the foods that we eat. Then energetic, which is now we're getting a little bit more metaphysical, your thoughts, your emotions, spirituality. And then life mastery, which is how we ground that in the way we interact with people in our world, the blessings we bring to the people in our world, the type of business we decide to get involved in. It's really the king quality. So if I'm working on the neuromuscular level, the most superficial level, and I'm wanting to get you the greatest results so that you could be the strongest version of yourself, meaning all of it. I want to make sure that you're getting a proper electrical feed from your central nervous system out into your peripheral. Right? If I'm wanting you to bench press, I'm wanting you to be even left and right. If I'm wanting you to squat, I'm wanting you to have even strength between your left and right feet. Most people come in and they've got all kinds of twisted bodies because of injuries and whatnot. So, quite practically, I refer them to a NUCA or upper cervical specialist. Here in St. Petersburg, we're lucky enough to have the world leaders in Atlas orthogonal, which is a form of chiropractic that deals with keeping the atlas vertebra lined up, right? Because if the atlas is out of, because it floats, right? If that atlas is called atlas because it holds up your world, right? If atlas shrugs, what happens? You're all fucked up. So when you see an Atlas orthogonal or a NUCA specialist, what they're doing is making sure that you're holding up your world properly. I'm not a fan of chiropractic per se, meaning you need to go cracking all your bones. I am a fan of getting your Atlas lined up properly so that everything else below it gets a proper feed. If central command, which is your skull brain, and you've got a hole right at the base of your skull where your central nervous system, your spinal cord drops through. The very first vertebra in order, if he's out of alignment, which is very easy for him to get out of alignment. I fell on my head doing trampoline about 2 years ago and I was way out. I was twisted, all kinds of twisted. If he's out of alignment, then I can stretch you and strengthen you to death. All the corrective stretches to get your body balanced so that you're lifting properly with good mechanics. But it's not going to work because you're getting a bad feed, a bad electrical feed to your muscles. If your muscles are like these lights, and those lights over there is flickering because in the fuse box there's a bad fuse, I could change those light bulbs all day. But I got to go to the fuse box and change this goddamn fuse. So that's the first place that I refer a client to. My objective is not to be the expert. You're going to come here and I'm going to make your life better all of a sudden because I'm the expert, I'm the guru. I want to know where you're at so that I can help you find the support you need more as a consultant. And that's usually the first place that I would send a brand new client.
Okay, that's interesting. I've actually heard about the Atlas stuff a while ago. My mom actually told me about it.
Dude.
She's been a yogi for about 30 years and she's into that. I've had a lot of this stuff kind of hammered into me over the years as well.
That's cool, man.
And so how did you get into yoga? How long, and how have you applied that to your own training?
Dude, it wasn't even like you. Your mom was a yogi. I grew up lifting. My uncle was a bodybuilder. And when I was 14 years old, he came over, my parents bought a barbell and some plates, and he started training me and my brothers on how to get bigger, stronger, and faster for football.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was gung-ho in lifting. Interestingly, he was the first person that also taught me about meditation.
Okay.
And he didn't even call it meditation. He just said, hey, I'm going to teach you this relaxation technique that's going to help you recover better.
Yeah.
And he was also into martial arts, so he knew a lot of things beyond bodybuilding. He was a bodybuilder, he was a martial artist, he was a marathon runner. I mean, my uncle, one of my greatest mentors.
Yeah.
All through high school, lifted, got bigger, got stronger. All through college, lifted, got bigger, got stronger. Learned about corrective exercise and the various other holistic aspects of fitness when I was right after college. Did an internship, learned about Paul Chek. Still hadn't really done yoga, but I knew about it, I've heard about it, and I realized what it was. It was a form of exercise that integrated mind and body, meaning you have to have a hyper awareness of your breath and kinesthetic awareness of your body in order to perform these movements. That's good for anybody. That's good for any athlete. You'll be better at powerlifting if you have kinesthetic awareness and full breath awareness.
I agree.
So I saw it as medicine. Lifting, all exercise is medicine because you're going to get a physiological response. I saw it as medicine, but also I saw it as a polar, I don't want to say opposite because everything's a spectrum, but the polarity of lifting. Lifting and powerlifting is I'm explosive. Don't ask me to do anything longer than 3 seconds. I mean, I'll crush it, but then I'm out. So of course there's a spectrum of fitness. Yoga is on that yin end of the spectrum. I would say powerlifting and strongman is as yang as you can get. Yoga is yin, as yin as you can get, because it's very flowing, it's very smooth, it's very mindful, it's very breathing, it's very yielding. So I remember, this is when I put the seed into the vortex. This is when I put that little seed out there to manifest. I remember working as a personal trainer in a local gym. This is even before strongman, but I knew I probably sensed what was coming up. When I discovered strongman, I went balls to the wall, yang. And so around that time where I'm like, I'm going balls to the wall in my business. So I'm working 7 days a week. I get to the gym at 6 a.m. I leave at like 6, 7 p.m. And yang to death, going hard. So it was that, plus strongman was coming into my life. And I could sense at a heart level that this is not going to last forever. This can't last forever. I'm going to burn up at some point. And I saw that as a reality, and I planted the seed that I'm going to take. This is what I used to say when I was probably about 25, 26 years old. I'm going to take a year off when I'm older. And I'm going to do nothing but smoke weed and do yoga. That's what I put out. That was going to be my retirement, or that was going to be my break from all the yang activity in my life. Because I knew that at some point I was going to be called to roost. I was going to have to balance this shit out. And I didn't know how or when that was going to unfold. I'm 38 now. I'd say I've been smoking weed and doing yoga for the past 3 years. I just took a break, Some of what caused that unfolding to happen was the tearing of my biceps, injuries. I've had a hernia. I'm no stranger to masochism, to going hard. So when I go soft, I feel good about it. I feel good about it. I've done it. I've proven it. There's nothing that anyone can say to me about going hard. It's like, and I've got the videos to prove it. And I've got the success in life to prove it. I got 4 kids. I did that with 4 kids. All of it with 4 kids. I go hard. So when it's time to go soft, man, yoga.
That reminds me of kind of when I was in the Army, and I was doing gate guard, and we're coming through. It's early in the morning. It's freezing, and our NCOs in the 82nd Airborne were like, you can't wear your cold weather gear. It's not part of the uniform. Then you get these SF guys coming through like, go put on a fucking jacket, man. It's cold. And they're like, oh, these guys trying to be hard asses and shit. It's like, they've been there. They've seen the suck. And now they're like, no, use that. Use those tools to feel comfortable.
There's no reason to beat yourself up.
Exactly.
It's unnecessary.
I think one common theme that I've seen as I've been interviewing people, like Dr. Mike Israel, Mike yesterday, a bunch of other people, it's all people that have been in the game for a long time, and now they're like, hey, think about the long game, take your time to rest, don't do it all now, don't go to that yang, you know? Get that balance between the yin and the yang. And so that's kind of one of the things I've been trying to tell people too. For
how old are you?
34.
34, yeah. So the injuries start racking up. Look, dude, there's nothing weak about injuries. Injuries are our greatest scars because they're our greatest lessons. I hold them to be, I'm proud of them because they provide wisdom. When you're one way and behaving, and when you're young and you're behaving a particular way, go hard, go as hard as you fucking can, so that you can learn by fucking yourself up. Yeah. And then when you need a little bit of help, I'll say, hey, I'm 38, I got you. Now this is how you manage that, you know. I have no interest in telling young people to slow down. Yeah. Because if somebody would have told me to slow down when I was 23, 24, first of all, I would have said, fuck you, you're old. Right? What the hell's wrong with you? And second of all, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to have all the experiences that I had that give me the embodied wisdom to give advice. Yeah. You know, a lot of people who can give advice because it's theoretical. Yeah. I read a book or I watched some videos. I'm 23 years old and I'm giving you wisdom on how to, build a multi-million-dollar business. It's like, but you haven't failed yet. Yeah. You don't have much wisdom for us yet. Yep. I love getting older. I can't wait till I'm in a rocking chair. I put this one into the vortex also, I can see it. I'm in a rocking chair. I'm sitting comfortably and still, and there are young people around me listening to what I have to say because I've made a lot of mistakes. I got fucked up a lot, and here's what I can tell you about it because I'm embodying it. Yeah, I agree. My old boss, J.L. Holdsworth, said, learn from my mistakes. Yeah, oh, I love it. So what's kind of coming up for you and Strength Camp? What are your plans coming up over the next year, 2 years, 3 years? What do you see happening? It's a good question, man. And the fact is that we're in deep transition right now, and a lot of that is unfolding. Meaning, if I said something today, there's a good chance that a year from now, I'll be on it'll be somewhere else. So I really don't want to put my foot down that hard. What I can do is point to what's happening now, because that's a very good indication as to what is potentially coming up in the future. And right now, I just left the Strength Camp Media business meeting, and what you might be wondering what that is. It was born out of Strength Camp. Yeah. We knew, and I knew very early on, that it would be difficult for me to live the lifestyle that I wanted with 4 children, and to do the things I wanted to do in the world. If I was limited to just having a gym. Yeah. And I love having a gym, and that's why we have a gym. Digital publishing is a great business if you're right for it. Yeah. I was aligned for it. I was right for it. I wanted to do it from the beginning, so we've developed a team around our social media and our publishing, and that's Strength Camp Media. So we're doing a lot of incredible work there. Of course, I'm publishing my own work. We publish some of the work of our other gym coaches. We're also very blessed to be currently developing a documentary on the life of Dr. Fred Hatfield. Oh wow! Who just passed away last week, Dr. Squat. I still get goosebumps at the fact that, number one, he asked us to do a documentary on him and to republish his books. Mm-hmm. Number two, he just came to us a year ago, and we just filmed his interview a week ago. Wow. Before he passed on to the other world. And I take that responsibility very heavily. With our whole meeting at Strength Camp Media just now was about, how do we shed light on the legend that is Dr. Squat. So we're doing a lot of work with Strength Camp Media. Strength Camp International is coming along. It's our attempt at licensing Strength Camp. Some bumps in the road. It's our newest company. So that I don't want to speak too much about it because it's unfolding. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do that. Reproducing a business model is one thing. Reproducing a culture is another. and a philosophy is another. So that we're working on that. The fourth business of the 5 is grounding camp, and this is where I can be controversial in my. It's controversial dependent on the audience.
Yeah.
Right? Because to people who are familiar with yoga, active meditation, bioenergetics, deep breathing, catharsis are not that wild. Kundalini yoga is all about shaking and yelling and dancing and celebrating life, but getting all of our emotions out. It's not that big a deal. When I set out very early on in my career, it was my objective. Ralph Waldo Emerson, I'm quoting him again here, once said something to the effect of how commerce is most effective in the world. And it's when you can take something from where it's plentiful and bring it to where it is lacking. Simple as that, right? We got lots of oranges here in Florida.
Yeah.
And they're not going to sell that well, but if we sell oranges up in Alaska, man, they'll pay $1 an orange or more.
Yeah.
So I have always been interested in philosophy, in religion, in spirituality. It's always been a part of me. It was part of that essence that I spoke about. But I'm also a meathead, and I say that endearingly. One of my friends, recently we had a good conversation about what it really means to be a meathead, and there's a lot of common wisdom there, common sense wisdom. Anyway, without going into that, I've always wanted to bring the yin aspect of my essence into an audience sphere that doesn't readily accept it, acknowledge it, want it maybe, and that's why I'm controversial. A lot of people resist it, and they're like, Elliott's off his rocker. They'll say all kinds of things about me. That's because their lack of understanding, their lack of openness. It's ignorance. They're fools, and that's okay. They can stay that way. They could disintegrate with the darkness, or they could rise with the light, and the light is all about integration.
Yeah.
So grounding camp is about my integration, shedding light on the truth that we are integrated, and bringing acknowledgement to the spirit and to the soul when we're working with the body. So grounding camp is a company right now where I just do workshops and basically camps.
Yeah.
And we spend 3 days doing active meditation and bioenergetics. It's a lot of fun. It's very cathartic, it's very healing, and it's very physical.
Yeah.
I'm a physical guy. So you're gonna come to a workshop about meditation with me, it's not gonna be Vipassana.
Yeah.
We're gonna shout, we're gonna make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And that idea of it being very physical, without me going too far down that route, was spawned in me by studying the work of Wilhelm Reich, Alexander Lowen, and Osho.
Okay.
So, anybody who's watching this, if you want to do a little research, read Alexander Lowen's books, read Osho's books on meditation. Wilhelm Reich was a student of Sigmund Freud. I'll tell you this about Wilhelm Reich. You're lucky that there are a handful of books that you can get from Wilhelm Reich that were basically hidden from the government when they came in and burned all his books. He's that controversial of a figure that the government, the FDA basically shut him down, and he died in prison because he was trying to liberate people in many different ways, one of which was through body psychology. He recognized that you can't heal a person's mind if they're not breathing properly.
Yeah.
And that's the essence of it. So a character structure, function of the orgasm, he was very controversial because he was willing to talk about sex in, post-Victorian Germany or Vienna, and they didn't like that. They came to the U.S. and they shut him down. So those are the guys that if you're wanting to dig a little deeper and put some content to the context that I'm sharing, you might want to look into. Fifth company is just branding, Elliott Hulse.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's actually, I was going to ask you what books, if you were going to recommend somebody that wanted to get into the aspects of what you're talking about, what you would recommend. So it would be those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're a big Ralph Waldo Emerson guy, I imagine, from how many times you've quoted him.
I named my second daughter Emerson.
Wow. Yeah,
my daughter's name is Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson was one of those, amongst many people, that were important at a very critical, his words were very important at a very critical stage in my life. And I share this because there is a recurring theme of when those critical stages show up. And I just had a conversation with a girl here who's a woman who's turning 33. She's getting very close to that next 12-year cycle in our life.
Yeah.
Age 24, I am no longer shocked at how many young men and women come to me at the age of 24, because it is our most, the more confusion, but more potential about what we are becoming in our lives show up at that age. And during that age, the most important influences in my life, and it's funny how everything comes full circle. Around that time, I mentioned Paul Chek, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Osho, Alan Watts, and the Baha'i Faith.
Okay.
Those were all things I was just devouring. Eastern, a lot of philosophy, religion, and they really, Ralph Waldo Emerson was highly influenced by Eastern religions, Hafez and Rumi, Buddhism with listening to Alan Watts introduced me to Buddhism and Taoism and all these philosophies of the East, Hinduism, and getting that, I don't even want to call it a foundation, but being enlightened to those things pre-Google.
Yeah.
This was like, me and my brother were downloading this shit from Napster. Yeah. One day my brother's listening to Alan Watts, and Alan Watts is very witty. He's a British dude, very witty, and he's talking about very deep things and laughing in the middle of it. And I'm like, I was just stopped in my tracks, like, what is this? This guy's amazing. So those guys really shed light. They enlightened me. That word enlightenment often takes on a lot of weird associations. Yeah. It's nothing more, and even awakening. I'm going to use both words, and they're both weird, but there's nothing, it's very concrete, it's very obvious. When you're awakened to something. I mean, you became Jesus.
Yeah.
In many ways, we do resurrect, but that's not the point. Before dying and resurrecting, we have to kind of wake up or get some light shed on things that we didn't know were there.
Yeah.
So I was very much enlightened around that age. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, reading the collected works, the essential works of Ralph Waldo Emerson, at around the age of 23, when my first daughter wasn't even born, had a deep impact on my thoughts, my character, and the choices I made in my life moving forward.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, man.
Hey, thank you. This is a great interview.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I appreciate it. Somebody wants to get in touch with you and kind of follow your stuff. How would they do that?
ElliottHulse.com, ElliottHulse.com. There you will be able to get access to everything else that I'm doing, really. I haven't made very many YouTube videos in the past few years. Getting back into it pretty soon here. If you're interested in what I'm talking about with regard to combining yoga and strength training, because that's my new endeavor. I see them both as intricate parts of becoming your whole self, your full self. Follow me on my Strength Camp YouTube channel coming up in the next month or two, and you'll be able to see exactly how I do that.
Are you ever going to bring back the Yo Elliott question?
There's a good chance. Yeah. Shutting everything down for a few years was very good. I say shutting down, but if you consider like nature, right? We live in Florida, it's a little different, but up in New York, you're up in Ohio, right? Jersey. Dude, if the trees didn't wither, if the leaves didn't wither and the trees go bare, the tree would never be able to take a break and recover its strength, its power during that dormant phase, that sleeping phase of winter, so that in the spring it has that much more power to come up. And those cycles happen in our lives too. There are times when, like right now, I feel like, because I'm talking so fast, I feel it. There's a springtime rising in my life. I couldn't have this much energy, and I couldn't be this convicted about the things I'm saying if I hadn't taken a winter break.
Yeah.
Now I can come back with that much more energy, that much more wisdom, that much more experience, and while I was down in that dark place. We like to still use contrast and label what's good or bad, and dark still takes on negative associations. Look, the backdrop of light is dark.
Yeah.
Dark is the essence of everything. It's what everything comes out of. We come out of the darkness of our mom's womb.
Yeah.
Everything is birthed out of darkness. Look into the sky. It's not blue. Beyond that what the light provided by the sun, it's all darkness out there. All this shit just comes out of the darkness. Darkness is our soil. It's the best place to go in order to resurrect. And so, of course, I'm ranting, but my point is that had I not taken all that time off to go into the dark place, I wouldn't be able to achieve half of the incredible success that is right at the tip of my tongue right now. That's on its way, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to following it and
Yeah, man.
seeing it grow. Hey, again, appreciate it.
You got it.
And thanks again for watching. Make sure you guys follow sponsors, Elite FTS, Hate Brand Goods, and Train Strongman. And I will see you out on the road. And if you want to get in touch with me, all that information will be below. And I'll see you out there. Thanks.